The battlefield was a graveyard of stars. Once, the sky above Deltharion Prime had shimmered with trade ships and shimmering auroras. Now it burned with the wreckage of war. The Terran Alliance had come seeking peace, but the Jacquerie Empire, proud and fierce, mistook their silence for conquest. Captain Elias Varen, decorated soldier of the Terran fleet, stood at the edge of the shattered landing bay, visor cracked, armor scorched. Around him lay the aftermath of another skirmish, drones flickering, air heavy with ion smoke. He'd seen countless battles, but this one had ended differently, because amidst the twisted ruins, he found a small crying sound. Elias turned, stepping carefully through the rubble. The sound came from behind a fallen power conduit, a faint, rhythmic wail. When he shifted the debris aside, what he saw nearly made him drop his rifle. A child. Not human. Her skin shimmered faintly like polished pearl. Her eyes glowed with pale lavender light. Her features were delicate, regal. She wasn't crying in pain. She was terrified. "Hey, it's okay," Elias said softly, lowering his weapon. His translator implant crackled as he spoke Jacquerie. "I won't hurt you." The girl blinked up at him, trembling. A royal sigil glowed faintly on her wrist, an intricate symbol he recognized immediately from briefings. She was a princess, the daughter of Queen Zealora of the Jacquerie Dominion, the one everyone believed had died 2 years ago during the bombing of Solkar Cradle. Elias stared, his mind spinning. If this was true, if she had survived, the entire war could change. Elias's ship, the Ardent Hope, wasn't built for stealth missions, but it would have to do. He wrapped the child, whose name he learned was Lyra, in a thermal cloak and carried her aboard under cover of night. The moment he lifted off, the comms lit up with chatter. "Unauthorized launch detected. Identify yourself." He killed the signal and dove into the storm belt. Lyra sat strapped beside him, wide-eyed. "Why do you help me?" she asked in broken Terran tongue. Elias glanced at her reflection in the glass. "Because someone has to." She tilted her head. "You are enemy." "Not today," he said simply. Days blurred into sleepless nights as Elias crossed contested systems. The war front raged between the Terrans and Jacquerie, each blaming the other for years of bloodshed. He sent no transmissions, made no pit stops. Every signal risked revealing her presence. Lyra began to trust him. Slowly. She asked questions about Earth, about oceans and trees, about songs. She'd never seen the sea. One evening, while floating in orbit around a silent moon, Elias caught her humming softly, a haunting Jacquerie lullaby. "My mother sang this," she whispered, "before the fire." Elias closed his eyes. He remembered reports of the fire, orbital bombardment that destroyed the royal nursery. A Terran strike gone wrong, they'd said. But standing here now, with the Queen's daughter alive in his care, he began to wonder. Who had really started it? The Ardent Hope limped toward the border of Jacquerie space. Fuel was low, and his stealth drive barely held. The child had grown pale and weak from exhaustion. Then came the inevitable contact. 3 Jacquerie interceptors appeared out of warp. "Terran vessel," a harsh voice barked over comms. "You are in restricted airspace. Power down immediately or be destroyed." Elias took a slow breath. "I'm bringing someone home," he said, opening a secure channel.
"Home?"
The alien commander's tone turned sharp. "You dare." Elias activated the ship's internal cam. Lyra leaned into view, her glowing eyes wide. The line went dead. Then silence. Moments later, the interceptors shifted formation, flanking his ship. "Follow us," the voice said, now hushed. Arrival at the ZHAKRI Palace. The royal palace of Jacquera rose like a cathedral of crystal and flame. Its spires glowed beneath twin suns, casting molten shadows across the plains. Elias walked the grand hall under heavy guard, his hands unbound but watched closely. The soldiers eyed him with hatred barely restrained. And at the end of the hall stood Queen Zealora. Her presence filled the room, tall, silver-scaled, her luminous eyes both weary and sharp. Her ceremonial armor gleamed like liquid glass. Elias bowed stiffly. "Human," she said, her voice a melody of power. "Do you know who you have brought before me?" He met her gaze. "Your daughter." The court erupted in gasps. Zealora's expression didn't change, but her hands trembled slightly. "You mock me," she said coldly. "My child was taken from me, by your kind." Elias motioned to the guards. "Then see for yourself." The doors opened again and Lyra stepped forward. For a heartbeat, time itself stopped. The queen's armor dimmed as her breathing hitched. "Lyra?" The child ran to her, crying. The sound that echoed through the throne room was not political, not ceremonial. It was motherhood rediscovered. Zealora knelt, gathering her daughter into trembling arms. The two clung to each other, tears of silver and salt mingling. The guards looked away, even the most hardened among them. When the queen finally stood again, her voice broke softly.
"How?"
Elias explained. The ruined city, the cry in the rubble, the hidden bunker where he'd found her. He told her how he'd crossed battle lines, risking death to return her. Zealora listened without interrupting, her sharp eyes studying him. Finally, she said, "You did not have to do this." "I did," he replied quietly, "because no child deserves to be lost to war." Truth revealed. But peace was never simple. In the days that followed, Elias remained confined to royal quarters while the Jacqueri council debated what to do with him. He was a human, the enemy, yet he had returned their most precious heir. Whispers filled the halls. Was he a spy? A savior? Lyra visited him daily, bringing food and stories. One night, she showed him a pendant, a fragment of crystalline metal etched with coordinates. "My mother wears the same one," she said. She said it belonged to those who knew the truth. Elias took it, scanning the markings with his visor. His stomach dropped. The coordinates pointed to a Terran weapons facility, the same one responsible for the accidental bombing years ago. The strike that had supposedly killed the princess. It hadn't been an accident. Someone on the Terran side had targeted the royal line deliberately to destabilize the Jacqueri Empire. Elias's blood ran cold. He had evidence, proof of betrayal by his own command. And if Zealora found out before he could explain, the fragile peace he'd built would shatter in an instant. Climax. The next morning, Elias demanded an audience with the queen. The guards refused until Lyra herself intervened. "He saved me," she told them. "Let him speak." In the great hall, under the glare of the council, Elias revealed the truth, projecting the decoded coordinates, the transmission logs, the Terran orders hidden within. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The bombing had been orchestrated, not by rogue soldiers, but by Terran High Command. A deliberate assassination. Zealora rose slowly from her throne, her eyes blazing with fury. The air around her shimmered with energy. "You bring me the corpse of my trust," she said, her voice trembling with wrath. "Do you think your confession absolves you?" Elias stood tall.
"No.
But maybe it can stop more of us from dying for lies." The court held its breath. Then Lyra stepped forward, clutching her mother's hand. "He is not our enemy," she said, her small voice echoing in the silence. "He gave me back my life." Zealora looked between them, her daughter's tear-streaked face, and the human who'd risked everything. Slowly, The fire in her eyes dimmed. "You are brave, Terran," she said finally, "and perhaps more honorable than those who command you." Ending. The days that followed changed the galaxy. Queen Zealora called for a ceasefire. Terran and Ja'Kari diplomats met in orbit over neutral ground. The truth of the assassination attempt spread like wildfire, exposing the corruption that had fueled the war. Captain Elias Varen was branded a traitor by his own government, but to the Ja'Kari, he was a hero. When the Queen offered him safe haven, he refused. "I'm not done yet," he said. "There are still voices on my side that need to hear the truth." Zealora placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you will not walk alone." Lyra smiled faintly beside her mother. "Come back someday," she whispered. "Maybe then you can tell me about the sea." Elias smiled. "I will." He boarded a small shuttle, looking back one last time at the alien world that had taught him the meaning of loyalty. The twin suns rose behind the palace, casting light on what had once been darkness. As he disappeared into the stars, the Queen stood on her balcony, her daughter safe in her arms once more. And for the first time in years, the galaxy felt quiet.